tonight. An Army officer assigned to the White House testifies about the now infamous Ukraine phone call as House Democrats take steps to try and bring more transparency to the impeachment probe. Plus, wildfires burn across California, causing mass evacuations, the areas being threatened. And we talk with the Vice President's daughter, Charlotte Pence, about her new children's book. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. The impeachment inquiry ramps up in Washington. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm Jenna Browder.
And I'm Ben Kennedy, in for John Jessup.
Well, explosive testimony today as the first current White House staffer faces impeachment investigators.
Now, in his opening statement, Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, expressed concern over the call between President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky. In a closed-door deposition, Alexander Vindman, an Iraq War veteran and top official with the National Security Council, will be asked about being in the Situation Room, listening in on the July 25th call to Ukraine. In his opening statement, he wrote, "I was concerned by the call. I did not think it was proper to demand that a foreign government investigate a U.S. citizen." Vindman even feared the call would undermine U.S. national security. Reporting those concerns to his superior, he writes, "I am a patriot, and it is my sacred duty and honor to advance and defend our country, irrespective of party or politics."
The impeachment of your president is a scam.
President Trump pushed back on Vindman's comments, calling him a never-Trumper witness, tweeting, "Was he on the same call that I was? Can't be possible. Please ask him to read the transcript of the call." Witch hunt.
We've had the two people on the call, President Trump and President Zelensky, say there was no pressure, no one was pushed, no conditions whatsoever.
Vindman did make clear he's not the whistleblower. Despite that, it's reported the White House tried to block him from appearing and limit his testimony. Now, meanwhile, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi decided to move forward with the first formal vote on the impeachment Thursday. It would outline step forward, including laying out procedures for open hearings. Republicans say they plan to vote no, insisting the process up until this point is a sham.
And here with us now is former South Carolina Senator Jim DeMint. He is the author of a new book, Conservative: Knowing What to Keep. And Senator, I thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you, Jenna. Ben, great to be on the set again here.
I appreciate it.
It's great to have you. So we want to talk to you about your book. Congratulations, by the way, very exciting. But just a little bit of news of the day first.
Sure.
So the House is getting ready to vote on the impeachment inquiry tomorrow, getting ready to vote on whether or not to authorize it. Your thoughts, Senator, on this whole impeachment inquiry?
Well, I believe it is a sham. I think if they had a legitimate inquiry, they would have voted on it in the beginning and set the rules and given both sides a chance to present evidence. That's called due process in America, very constitutional. But as Lindsey Graham says, now they're trying to unring the bell. They're trying to go back and act like they've got a legitimate process while they've spent a month leaking information that they cherry-picked to try to shape the attitudes of the American people. So I don't feel good at all about it. I hope no Republican will vote for it, and I would like to see some Democrats stand up and say this is not how we do things in America.
Now, Jim, aside from the impeachment, President Trump has been getting some flack for not alerting top Democrats about the military operation to kill ISIS leader Baghdadi. Was or is that his responsibility to do that?
No, it's not. And particularly the way the situation is now, if he had alerted Democrats in the Congress, the Baghdadi would have likely been gone by the time our forces got there. We just cannot trust the process. They are, even in security briefings now, they're leaking things out. And so in the interest of the safety of our troops, I think it was important for the president to keep this secret until it was done, which is not unusual for presidents anyway. So.
You've said before that President Trump does not represent the future of the Republican Party. Do you still stand by that, Senator?
Well, I hope he'll be the future for the next 6 years, but any of us who are my age or his age are not going to be the future for the party. My point there was that the future of the party is not in any one person's hands, and that's not healthy anyway. It'll be in the hands of folks folks who are in their 20s and 30s now. One of the reasons we wrote the book designed to reach millennials and help explain this terrible division, insanity we have in Washington now. There are really two sides of this thing if people need to understand what the war is about.
Jim, let's talk about your book. You mentioned how faith has an impact on America. Do you believe faith is still impacting our culture as we speak?
Oh, yes, it is. Outside of Washington, I mean, the media would have you believe that it doesn't, but I travel enough to know that 95% of the conservatives in this country are believers who are active in government because they feel like they're stewards of this great country, and it's a great motivation to have. They don't want anything in return. They just believe that God has given us a great blessing called America. It's their job to be vigilant to keep it free. Faith still has a role, and one of the chapters in our book is about keeping our faith and how it relates to America and our freedoms.
And you kind of got into this a little bit, but why was it so important for you right now, where we stand in history, to write this book?
Well, we talk about conservatism all the time, but it's not well defined. On the left, they call it bad names of hateful and bigotry. On the right, sometimes we talk about it in terms of political policies, when in fact, conservatism is about keeping those things that we value, the things that make life better for us. That includes our traditions of family, of marriage, of going to church. And we bring forward a lot of what Russell Kirk talked about in the conservative mind back in the 1950s. But one of his key platforms of conservatism was the belief in a transcendent order. And that is the way to create civility in a society. And when we push that out, we get what we have today in Washington.
Senator, thank you so much for not only talking to us about your book, but also News of the Day. We really appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
Thank you.
Take care.
Well, with the top two ISIS leaders now dead, a new focus tonight on the future of terrorist movement and security policy in the Middle East. CBN News national security correspondent Eric Phillips reports.
Well, the deaths of Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi and his top lieutenant are indeed victories for the U.S. and its allies. But experts caution there is no time for resting on laurels because the war against ISIS is far from over.
We killed ISIS leader al-Baghdadi. They've been looking for him for a long time.
The raid by the U.S. Delta forces lasted 2 hours, including massive airstrikes and using canines to corner Baghdadi in a tunnel where he detonated a suicide vest, killing himself and 3 young children. Then, a separate weekend airstrike killed the group's second in power, ISIS spokesperson Abu Hassan al-Muhajir. Still, coalition forces in the region warn this is no time to relax.
We still know that there are ISIS remnants who remain a threat. And at the invitation of the government of Iraq, we will remain here to continue to go after that threat.
This is a victory. Take the victory lap.
Middle East expert Bekhnam Ben Talablu recognizes the temptation to gloat, but adds this fight is far from over.
There's every incentive for a leader to want to say, well, we got the leader and it's one and done. But what these organizations show you is that they have a global reach, they have an ideology that can metastasize, they're capable of radicalizing lone wolves in the West.
Talablu says the death of Baghdadi provides some shade to the president, who received widespread criticism for clearing the way for the Turks to go after longtime U.S. partners, the Kurds. He says the success of this operation speaks for itself.
He used the right model, which is local partners, intelligence, high-tech, special forces, to go after the head of a terrorist organization, but he should continue to get successes from that model. He shouldn't shortcut his own successes.
Talablu says the next move should be an official policy towards the national government of Iraq. He says the U.S. should be calling out religious atrocities committed by Iran-backed forces in Iraq, but he says that's not happening. And he says combining a maximum pressure campaign in Iran with post-ISIS policies would be strengthened by such a policy regarding Iraq. In Washington, Eric Phillips, CBN News.
Thank you, Eric. In 1 week, Virginians will head to the polls in an election that could change the balance of power in the Commonwealth. Ahead of Election Day, big money is being spent to win over voters. A week out, $82 million has been spent, the most expensive legislative election in Virginia history. Come next week, Democrats hope to win control of the state House and Senate. Currently, Republicans hold a slim majority, controlling 21 of the 40 Senate seats and 51 of 100 seats in the House of Delegates.
Caitlin Conant, political director for CBS News, joins us now to discuss. Caitlin, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
$82 million spent in Virginia. This is a big deal.
It really is, and this is really the first test since the 2018 midterms and what the enthusiasm is for Democrats. And it's even more interesting right next door to where we are in Virginia, because this was a party, a Democratic Party, that was embroiled in scandal over the course of the past year between Governor Northam and Lieutenant Governor Fairfax. But this is also not just a test for momentum, it's a test of how effective gun policy is in terms of driving voters to the polls. This has been shown in the Washington Post to be the #1 issue for Virginia Democratic voters, and a lot of the candidates have been running on it in the hopes that they can motivate this, get voters out to the polls, and turn Virginia blue.
Caitlin, let's say Democrats do take control of the House and Senate. Could this be a bellwether for the 2020 election?
You know, again, I think it's a sign of just enthusiasm and how much voters are fired up and ready to get out there. And I think Democrats are trying to go down ballot. We saw them make efforts in Wisconsin in the midterms, and they're really hoping to make some gains in the state legislatures.
Well, on the presidential stage, Democrats, they spent the weekend in South Carolina trying to court black voters. Joe Biden, he went to a Catholic mass where the priest there refused to offer him communion because of Joe Biden's stance on abortion. Does something like this, Caitlin, hurt Joe Biden with religious voters?
You know, I think abortion is obviously a divisive issue, and people feel strongly on both sides of it. I think when it comes to what you were talking about with his support with African-American community, that is an area where it appears to be very strong. And I think a lot of that is evangelical in South Carolina as well. So it remains to be seen. But we have seen some other polls in New Hampshire just out this morning, a CNN poll that showed that Senator Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren are ahead of the pack there.
Now, Senator Kamala Harris and many others went after President Trump when he compared the impeachment inquiry into lynching. You cover the news here in D.C. day to day. There's just so much happening. You kind of forget what you covered last week. But do you feel that like this lynching comment will come back to bite him in the general election? You
know, I think this news cycle, as you said, happens so fast, and people's memories are quite short. So what we try and stay focused on at CBS is kind of the big picture. And so far, we've kind of seen the same 4 people leading the polls, and that's Biden, Sanders, Mayor Pete Buttigieg, and Elizabeth Warren. And we've seen kind of matching numbers in New Hampshire and Iowa in terms of people who say that their minds aren't made up yet. So we've got a ways to go, but the top does seem to be narrowing a bit.
Tomorrow, on the impeachment front, House Democrats will vote on whether or not to authorize this impeachment inquiry. Caitlin, how worried are those Democrats who represent the red pro-Trump districts? This makes them go on the record.
It does, and I think conversely it makes some Republicans go on the record too. I'm curious to see, there's been so many Republican retirements in the House, and since they're not running again, they kind of have more freedom to say what they really think. And a lot of these issues people have been protesting the process of impeachment, but not necessarily the merits. So I'll be watching on the Republican side if there's anyone that breaks with the president here.
Yeah, you're right. Some Republicans have said, look, the damage has been done. We plan to vote no, but as you say, we could expect to see a couple yeses here and there.
Exactly. We've got a ways to go in this, and again, like we just can't predict the future here.
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be interesting.
For sure.
Caitlin Conant, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Well, coming up, devastation in the Golden State. The wildfires threatening California.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
You know, I think as a father, it's my job, to lead, just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
Wildfires are raging in both northern and southern California. In the north, the Kincaid fire had scorched more than 75,000 acres near Sonoma. That fire only 15% contained. And in the south, tens of thousands of residential and commercial structures are under mandatory evacuation due to the Getty fire. While firefighters work to contain that one, they worry that strong winds could just cause the flames to spread.
Probably going to be the worst winds that Los Angeles has seen in the last 2 to 3 years. And we've had some very strong wind events. So in anticipation of what this can become, we have a contingent of firefighters from all over Southern California.
Now, the LA Fire Department says the winds will be at their worst tonight through Thursday.
Well, Drew Sams is senior pastor of Bel Air Church in Los Angeles, and he joins us now for more. Drew, thank you so much for being with us. And just tell us about the situation there. How close is the fire getting to your church?
Well, our church is up on Mulholland Drive in Los Angeles, and yesterday morning I received a phone call from one of our members who's a fire captain telling me to wake up. And I ended up getting up on campus at about 5:30 a.m. on Monday morning. We could see flames from our campus about a mile and a half away from the Getty fire. We've been closed yesterday, and today we have a preschool on site, and we've been mobilizing our church to help support those first responders.
And Drew, you mentioned this a bit. How is your congregation being impacted by this situation?
Well, our church family extends all over Los Angeles, so we have members that live in the evacuation areas. They've had some of them be within 15 minutes gathering their things and getting out of their homes. And we know that there's about a dozen families right now that have relocated, that are staying with family, friends, or even other members of our church.
You know, you mentioned this affecting really the whole community, but what about those people who are, you know, outside of maybe your church community? Are you able to reach out to them and help them in this difficult situation?
You know, there's evacuation centers all over Los Angeles, and it's so wonderful. Our church family has been showing up and simply being present with those that they've never met before, who have been evacuated, and they're bringing water, they're bringing their presence, and they're just bringing encouragement to those that did not imagine they'd be spending today in an evacuation center.
Mm-hmm. Drew, you were talking about encouragement to those being affected by this, but what is your prayer during this time?
Well, you know, yesterday morning I came up on campus, and it was early in the morning. I could see the flames. Another one of our church members, Anthony Zamiti, a good friend of mine, drove up on campus. You know, it's dark out still, and we prayed for our city. Book of Jeremiah says that we should pray for the city that we've been brought into, for if it prospers, we too will prosper. And so we just prayed for safety. We prayed for peace. We prayed for strength for those navigating things and responding. And I really believe that regardless of where you are, whether it's here in Los Angeles or around the world, prayer is powerful, and God hears the prayers of those that cry out to him. So I'd rather spend that energy praying rather than worrying or filled with anxiety.
Yeah. Well, Drew, thank you so much for what you're doing out there, and know that so many of our viewers are praying for you and sending their thoughts and their prayers to you and that community.
Well, we treasure your prayers, and church isn't a location. It's not an hour on Sunday, but it's a group of people, and I'm just so proud of the global church and our church mobilize in prayer and response in this time.
Drew Sams, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Still ahead, we catch up with Charlotte Pence to discuss her latest book about the first bunny of the United States.
Daddy,
Yeah, buddy.
how many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts, in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain. Get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Well, she is the daughter of Vice President Mike Pence and a best-selling author. Charlotte Pence has written 2 children's books about her pet rabbit, Marlon Bundo. And now she has another, this one, Marlon Bundo's Best Christmas Ever. Charlotte, welcome and congratulations on your new book.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, so tell us the story behind it.
Yeah, actually, this book is, it's kind of a fun story. I actually really wanted to do a holiday book, probably since we really started doing the Marlon Bundo books. And so my mom and I started working on it a little bit last year over the holiday season, taking pictures of Marlon around the house and getting some of those, shots that actually ended up in the book as watercolors that she illustrated. And we just wanted to do a book that kind of talks about the holiday spirit and, knowing what is important around the holidays instead of just presents and parties. And so Marlon kind of learns that throughout the book.
You mentioned your mother, Second Lady Karen Pence. She, of course, did the illustrations. What was that collaboration like?
That was really fun, actually. We have had a ton of fun doing them together. She's very talented, and normally when you do a children's picture book like this, a lot of times you don't work with the illustrator as an author, but since we're both doing it together, we got to do that.
Charlotte, you write about the magic of Christmas at the Vice President's residence. For you, as the Vice President's daughter, what is the best part about the holidays there?
Yeah, honestly, I really love a lot of the parties that they have at the house. Just being able to see all the people come over and really bring their families and be able to kind of enjoy the residence. There aren't any public tours of the Vice President's residence, and so to be able to come, you have to be invited. And so my parents have really done a great job, I think, of having a lot of staff over. We have military families that come in, and it's just a really cool environment during that time. And in the book, Marlon goes around to the different staff and he gets little pieces of parts of the house kind of to put together into a surprise at the end. And through that process, the readers and kids can kind of see all the people that work so hard at the Vice President's residence every day.
Yeah, it's a great message and just a beautiful book. With your other Marlon Bundo books, I know The Prophets have gone to some good causes. Is that the case with this one too?
Yes, it is. I donate a portion of the proceeds to A21, which is a human trafficking organization. So they work to abolish human slavery in the 21st century. That's their motto. And then my mom also gives a portion of the proceeds to art therapy causes to help kids with cancer.
So neat. So Charlotte, what's next for Marlon Bundo?
We're not sure yet. We have some ideas for sure. We always are kind of looking to do the next thing. We've also started getting some merchandise and putting that up on Zazzle.com so people can actually go on and get little Marlon Bundo toys and presents and gifts and wrapping paper for the holidays. So that's kind of fun. But we're brainstorming stuff right now, so I'll let you know.
Charlotte Pence, Marlon Bundo's best Christmas ever. Congratulations again and good to see you.
Thank you so much.
And trick-or-treaters head to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. That story when we come back.
I am Region's first ROTC graduate student.
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way. I'm Roberto Torres-Cedillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices. And watch God transform a generation.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to CBN.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
Well, not all trick-or-treaters can say they've been given candy by the president.
But some kids recently donned their costumes and made their way to the White House hoping to hit the Halloween mother lode. President Trump and First Lady Melania were on hand to pass out candy to military families and local D.C. school children at the White House South Portico. In true childhood dream fashion, the kids each were given a full-sized candy bar. Those candy bars, of course, coming wrapped in White House logo wrappers.
How cool. Would you eat the candy if you had a White House logo on it?
Probably yes. That's going to do it for Faith Nation.
Have a great night.